Well, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Wayne Scott, and I'll be your moderator for today's LinkedIn Live webinar series, Home to More at Freddie Mac. Now, this series for 2023 will occur throughout the year, and each event will feature different employees from various division and job categories. Now, throughout the year, we will hit topics such as workplace and culture, growth opportunities, and the hard and soft skills that will help you succeed. Now, today our session will focus on quantitative and analytics careers. If you're attending this event live from your computer, please check in for the event by scanning the QR code on the screen with your phone. Now, if you are viewing the event from your phone, we will paste the link to the check in the chat. Now, copy and paste this link into the new browser to check in. Now, if you experience any difficulties, do not worry. We will revisit the check in at the end of the event. Now, just a little about myself. I'm currently in talent acquisition, and I have been with Freddie Mac a little over 11 years in a variety of different capacities, including business operations support and now HR talent acquisition. And I could tell you it's been a wonderful journey. But let's not make this about me, right? You're here to gain some insight on quantitative and analytics space, so let's go ahead and get started. Now, I would like to introduce you to our distinguished panel members. First, we have with us Sarah Jiang from our Enterprise Risk and Management Division. And second, from Single Family Modeling, we have Fabio Quijado. Welcome, panelists. I'm sure we'll have a healthy, organic conversation. So, let me let you know our discussion today will be about 30 minutes in length. The entire event is recorded and will be available on the same event page as soon as the live event concludes. We have some awesome members from our talent acquisition space monitoring and responding in the live chat. So feel free to drop any questions or comments there throughout the event. Now, if we should run out of time, questions may be answered post event. So, without further ado, let's just jump right in for the sake of time. And let's start with you, Fabio, on this first question. What division do you work in? What is your role? And what drew you to this field?
Oh, well, thank you very much. Hello, everyone. Very happy to be here. I work in the single family modeling division as a senior data science manager. I came to Freddie Mac about 13 years ago. So my background is actually in economics and mathematics. What's more economics and math than housing, right? Very traditional space to be in. So Freddie Mac, I felt at that point in time was a perfect fit. Still feel that way today. And so that's how I arrived here at the company.
Wonderful, wonderful. And same question for you, sir.
Hi, nice to meet everyone. I'm a senior director in Enterprise Risk Management Division. I joined Freddie Mac 10 years ago. This May, I'm going to celebrate my 10 years anniversary with Freddie Mac. This is my third job and my longest tenure in my career.
Wow, that's wonderful. I guess we all three have tenure here. Well, let's stay with you, sir, on this first question. Let's see. Freddie Mac uses the three lines of defense model. Can you describe the risk management model and speak to the three lines of defense of risk management and how your work fits into the model?
Yeah, three lines of defense is a risk management framework. And in Freddie Mac, we also follow this risk management framework. First line of defense refers to the business unit. And an example in model risk area is that Fabio is in the first line. So when Fabio developed the model, he is creating a model for the business unit and passing to my department for review and approval. So in that role, I'm in the second line, providing effective challenge to the first line's work. Third line is audit. Audit will come in and challenge both first line and second line's work and make sure that we are following our policies and procedures. So together, all these three lines are helping and collaborating with each other to help the company to build a strong risk management framework.
That's great, sir, and thank you for sharing that. And Fabio, anything to add on that?
So as Sarah said, I work in the first line. So we are technically, the first to understand business requirements and then consume those requirements and try to translate them into model-driven decisions. And so it's very, very important to us. All three lines, but also the first line is to have a solid risk management framework, right? In the first line, we'll make sure that not only are we building these models from a conceptual standpoint soundly with best practices, but also making sure that along the way we're documenting them, we're conceptualizing how to monitor these models, and that way, when Sarah and her team come, they're comfortable with all the work that we've done.
Great answer. Thank you for that. And on to our next question. Let me ask, what hard and soft skills and or certifications are most important for your job? I know for me as a talent advisor, I tend to look at those certification, degrees, and enhanced skill sets that will be most important to that specific role. So vetting is a part of my responsibility to break down and decipher transferable skills. But what about you, Fabio?
So in terms of technical skills, I'm going to start there. The first stuff that's very important there is as model developers, we need to make sure that we understand and can sort of work in the entire modeling pipeline. That includes conceptualizing the experiment, collecting business requirements, then data extraction and data transformation. So things that are like SQL, general best practices for variable imputation, et cetera. And then the next step of the pipeline is the model building phase. So best practices with hyperparameter tuning, making sure that we're using the right performance metrics to evaluate how to select the best model, et cetera. And then once that is completed, then we also need some skill sets in terms of trying to be able to interpret and make sure that how the model is arriving at its answers fits well conceptually with sort of how we think of how the sort of the business problem should arrive at an answer, right? So if we had a human that could process all this information in one shot, and how would they arrive at that answer? It has to be some intuition there with how we think the problem should be solved.
Great. Thank you for that. And anything to add, Sarah, on that one?
I would say in terms of technical skills or hard skills, between first line and second line, the requirements are pretty similar because we need to have a common understanding of the models in the model risk area that for second line and also the third line model audit to be able to effective challenge, we need to first understand what it is. So hard skills, I would say there is a lot of common requirements for, in general, all the quant analytics jobs. I think for soft skills, just because of the nature of the work, there might be some different focus for soft skill requirements. Say, for example, in second line and third line, because one team, we are responsible for a bigger portfolio than, say, for example, Fabio's team will focus on a specific business area and build upon the number of models that his team is responsible for. But like the same size of the team or the same person in the second line or third line may cover multiple teams in the first line. So we need to cover broad exposure and a variety of models. And in that sense, we really need people to have a general curiosity to learn and can learn very fast. With that foundation, after we understand the model, we're able to provide effective challenge. And to be able to provide effective challenge, you cannot just take everything as given. You have to think deep. So here, the critical thinking and the logical thinking is very important because we're not that close to the business. So we have to pick up something very fast and at the same time provide challenge. A lot of the times, the challenge really relies heavily on a logical thinking, what makes sense. So I think in terms of successful soft skills in second line, third line, eager to learn and learn very fast can help help us to cover a broad business area. And also logical and critical thinking will help us to provide effective challenge. Yeah, and I'll hand it back to Fabio to talk about what are the important soft skills in first line or generally.
Well,
Right?
thank you.
Quant
So
area.
a lot of similar things. Some of the critical soft skills is collaboration in the first line. We have to be able to work with a lot of diverse set of folks, different backgrounds. We strongly believe in our division that the more collaboration there is, the better result we get at the end, right? So kind of like this mixing of the minds, that kind of effect. And then the other thing that I think is critical for us is, especially in the quant space, is to be able to take these complex concepts that we have in modeling and try to translate them in a way that they're understandable to non-technical audiences. Something that I always use as an example when I talk to folks is one of my favorite pastime things is to watch documentaries about physics, like black holes or any of these physical concepts. And what I love the most about those videos is I don't have a physics background, and the mathematics for that physics is very complicated, but they find very intuitive ways to explain their concepts with visualizations or a thought experiment. And so that type of soft skill, being able to translate these complicated technical concepts to audiences that are non-technical is very, very important for our job.
Absolutely. Great answers. Thank you. So, moving to our next question, let me ask now, making home possible requires us to lead, collaborate, deliver results, focus on stakeholders, and grow and develop. How do you and your team deliver on these competencies? I know in my role as a talent advisor, to be successful at Freddie Mac, we seek those candidates who are team players, like you mentioned before, can collaborate well, strong communicators, but also want to continuously grow and develop. But what about you, Fabio?
Yes, absolutely, right. So in terms of core competencies, partnership, accountability, collaboration, all of those things are extremely critical for us. Being able to meet deadlines on time, of course, is always very, very important.
Yes.
But just coming back to this concept of collaboration, that really is the key to what we do. We really cannot achieve all the results and all the model building that we need to do if we don't have a strong communication and collaborative environment across both the single family division and the first line and across our other divisions in the company.
Great. Thank you for that. And same question for you, sir.
Yeah, I would echo on the collaboration piece. So we have a lot of stakeholders. The collaboration can happen within the same line, say within first line that Fabio just mentioned, and also within second line. It's not only my team, but I also have other risk areas, say credit risk, financial risk, counterparty risk within second line. They have specialized expertise in their risk types. So depending on the model, I'm gonna bring in different expertise area subject experts into my model review project, and I have a group assessment about the model, so we can have a comprehensive assessment. So I think we often use a example from the doctor, that a diagnosis from the doctor. If you have, especially there's controversial areas or some key risk areas, we want to have a kind of, or if a patient have a complicated case, we want to bring in experts, have a group diagnosis in the doctors, in the medical discipline. So same here. You can think about a problem as as a disease or something that we're trying to solve, and we need to bring in different perspectives. So there's a lot of collaboration within second line, and also once a problem have been identified, to find the root cause and to find a solution, we often collaborate together between first line and second line because we are already passing on the effective challenge stage where we need to keep a level of independence. But after that effective challenge, we already know where the problem is. So first line and second line can collaborate at the resolution stage so that we can work towards the same goal as the Freddie Mac, as one Freddie Mac. So that's another example. And actually, I have a example that at my hand on one of the models that I'm responsible for that we're trying to solve that with a collaborative effort between the first line and second line. Yeah, so that's the collaboration part. And another one I want to emphasize is delivering results, especially in terms of timeline. So one model life cycle, Fabio mentioned that have different parties responsible for different stages. We have development, validation, and also eventually going to production. We have model implementers. So every team has to line up to make sure that this model can go into the production and serve the business need in a timely fashion. And anybody or any stakeholder have a delay, that'll delay the entire process. So time to market is very important because market is changing very fast. So delivering results also, in addition to the quality of work, we also care about the timing. So timely deliverable is also very important. In terms of growth and development, that's we already mentioned, all the soft skills and hard skills, and to learn a new field, a new problem very fast. That's expected from everyone in the company.
That's great. Oh, wonderful, wonderful answer. And let's stay with you, Sarah, on this next question. Why did you choose Freddie Mac for this part of your career, and why have you chosen to stay?
Yeah, that's a great question. I started in the first line. My first job was a model developer, and back then I just graduated from school with an economics degree, and I joined a modeling team in a large bank. So there I developed models in different business areas. Very excited about putting whatever I learned from class into a real business case. And after I think about five years, I decided to join second line. I find at that stage I accumulated modeling experiences from different areas with different types of models, different business areas. I think with this kind of exposure, that'll give me a great foundation to join the second line to be able to challenge other people's work. So that's when I joined Freddie Mac 10 years ago. And I ended up staying in model risk area for 10 years. I couldn't believe it. I think one of the reasons for me to stay for so long is that I don't ever feel bored. There are so much things to learn. And as I said, there's a great exposure from second line. So I feel like I have a new job every year. I think early years in my Freddie Mac years, say I have challenged and reviewed Fabio's models, and now I move to other areas. So there's always new area to learn for me. And the other thing that's very important for Freddie Mac especially is the mission that we have, make home possible. That's very relevant to everyone's life. That's American dream, right? So I think I feel very different than working for other financial institutions where every day my work is try to calculate how much profit I can make for the bank. So to here, every day, all the work I'm doing, I feel like, okay, I'm making home possible. So that really feels very different.
Yeah, I feel the same way, and that's a great answer, Sarah. I know for me, I've seen the growth in Freddie Mac. Things like work-life balance, expanded benefits, numerous amenities on campus, and I'm a strong proponent of diversity, equity, and inclusion as well. And I believe Freddie Mac embraced this very well. I believe also with continuous innovation and technology, we'll be able to achieve our goals for years to come. But what about you, Fabio? Same question.
Oh, well, sure. So yes, the mission, of course, is always the kind of one of the top things, right? We've had a couple of folks come along and say, probably they equate it to, if you could work to go and scan brains and cure cancer, or Alzheimer's or stuff, right? We feel like the work we do here has a very strong mission, and with the end goal of, as Sarah said, is an important aspect, both financially and socially. I believe in the United States, which is home ownership. It's a good thing, and so if we can do stuff that help folks, get into homes, but more importantly, stay in their homes, I think that is something that's worthwhile. On a sort of, also sort of echoing Sarah, there's always something new to do. I think something that definitely has kept me at the company is just the kind of such varied kind of topics and areas in the company. If you think of mortgages, really there's three fundamental parts to a mortgage. There's the borrower, right? That's the human, the person that we're extending credit, that's getting credit extended towards. There's the collateral, right, which is the home, and then there's the financial instrument, which is essentially the mortgage structure: 30 years fixed, 30-year mortgage, 15 fixed rates, ARMs, etc. And so there are models to be built across all three of those areas, and all the models that you build across those areas are very, very different. And so that is something that's always been very exciting for me, is just how varied the types of projects can be, and the type of model that you're working on. And the last thing I'd like to say about something that's at the company, and something that I'm very fortunate to have experience, is I have had some great managers and some great colleagues along the way. Great managers make great environments. And I've just been very fortunate that, Freddie Mac just has a lot of really, really good managers. And those were folks that will, help you learn. They'll keep you motivated. They'll give you opportunities to try new things, and expand your knowledge base. So definitely, I have to say, big shout out to all the managers that I've had along the way. Freddie Mac does have some great managers.
Yes, kudos to our managers. That's great. So, moving into our next question, what is your top interviewing tip? I could tell you, especially in my line of business, I'm a champion for someone that is confident and not afraid to try different things. Be a little unorthodox. You want to stand out from the crowd, especially in the area of quant and analytics, right? I mean, I review resumes throughout my day. So, what's on your resume is your voice. It will speak to me, other talent advisors, and of course, our managers as well. But what about you, Fabio?
Yes, absolutely. I review resumes all the time as well. So I think one of the things that's really important in terms of the interviewing process, if you do get an interview or you're preparing your resume, one thing that I highly recommend to folks is you have to be very clear about your expectations, in terms of what is your daily role? What do you desire for your daily role, right? When it comes to quantitative work now, you can really think of it, there's an engineering side to it, right? Lots of coding. Somebody gives you a design document, somebody gives you clear instructions, they give you some pseudocode. Your job is to go and implement it on a machine and make it work as fast and as efficient as possible. But that's not all that it comes, because there's also the design aspect itself, which is somebody gives you a blank slate. Here's a business problem. It's a blank slate. You have to go figure out data, where to go get the data, put it together, what type of model architecture fits the business need, et cetera. So there are no instructions. You're creating it, and so it's very clear for you to know what aspect of the modeling life cycle you want to be involved in, right? And then the last thing that I would recommend is, when folks interview, is if you have one project on your resume, make sure it's one that you really, really know. That if the interviewer asks you, hey, explain to me the data, which model architecture you selected, how did you evaluate the model, that you can very clearly articulate why you went and sort of went down the path that you went down. That shows us as interviewers that you didn't just go through the motions. You actually thought about what you were working on, and that's very, very important for what we do on the first line. And then maybe one more thing is, today, building a model is one line of code, model.fit, right? We've gotten to that point, which is fantastic. But just as important as it is to know how to code something, it's also very important to figure out how do these algorithms work? That's very, very important for our job because we work in a highly regulated industry, right? So we need to be able to make sure that the assumptions that are needed for that model or that model architecture are being met. And we need to make sure that our data is being collected correctly to fit that modeling aspect. So not just knowing how to code something, but actually understanding, at least at some level, the high level concepts that went into that design of the model, I think are very, very important. And so that's something I ask folks often, right? It's, can you explain to me how, theoretically how a random forest works, right? Why is it that this ensembling of trees actually produces good estimators? There's actually a statistical reason why, which is a variance canceling across a lot of averaging of different answers, right? A lot of averaging across information. So I encourage folks to not just learn how to code something, but also try to understand why these algorithms work the way they do.
Wonderful. Absolutely. And I know we're running short on time. And Sarah, I want to ask you this last question. What is your top tip for progressing in this field?
Yes. So now you get the job. You passed the interview. So you're on the job. So how to be successful on the job? I think before we even talk about progressing and promotion, the first thing is to really be a top performer and a very outstanding performer at your current role. So I think knowing the success criteria for your current role is very important. So you can focus on them and work on the things that's valued by your department or organization. We already talked about the desired technical and soft skills. Those will play out and will mean different things in different teams. So talking to your supervisor to find out what does it mean to be successful in your specific role is very important. And then you're going to be ready to think about the next level. So I would say also knowing the requirements and expectations are important. I see a lot of people being a very solid performer at certain role for many, many years. Maybe they're repeating the same requirements at the same level. So I think for whoever in your current role, you always want to know what is the next level of requirements. And you want to build your development plans to work on them so that you can get there. And seek stretch opportunities so that you can kind of, although you're staying in the current role, you're performing partially on the next level. That will really help you to show that, okay, I'm ready, or I have the potential to be performing at the next level. And how to achieve all these, you need support. So find your support, all the good people in Freddie Mac to support your success. I would say be proactive to find mentors to give you advice. And also at the same time, show all your goodness to attract a sponsor. Sponsors who can be your advocate, can talk about support you while you're not in the room so that the promotion can happen. And good opportunities can all happen to you. So find a mentor and attract a sponsor. Sponsor is not something you can find and say, okay, be my sponsor. No, you have to be good enough so that a sponsor will find you. So those are some of the tips that I have for somebody new.
Wow, that's great. You guys are rock stars, I could tell you. But, I know our time is running short. So, as our session is coming to a close, I just want to say thank you to our wonderful panelists, both Sarah and Fabio, with their vigorous perspectives and, of course, their insight to help elevate your career possibly with Freddie Mac. Now, I would also like to thank our audience members for joining the live event today. All resources mentioned today will be posted in the chat for your convenience. Now, I draw your attention again to the QR code to check in for this event today. The link to check in will also be included in the resources we are popping into the chat if you prefer to use that method. Now, you can always rewatch and share to, say, on LinkedIn. The recording will be live at the same link shortly after the broadcast ends, and please look out for upcoming live events throughout the year. And of course, for more information on opportunities that are available at Freddie Mac, please visit our career sites page, which is included in the resources we'll put in the chat. Again, thank you all for your time today and joining today's event, and we definitely look forward to the next time. Have a great rest of your day. Thank you all.